Welcome to 580 KIDO. It's time once again for the Real Estate Show featuring Chris Lofthus of the Chris Lofthus Group at Keller Williams Realty Boise. As we move along, once again, Chris, it is an action-packed, I don't know if it's MMA, the NFL, or the Olympics, when we describe the real estate market here in the Treasure Valley. First of all, great to have you with us once again.
Oh, I appreciate, Kevin, I appreciate you coming and hosting the show. I always like when you come on and kind of give a different perspective of what's going on with, not just my world in real estate, but just in general, and love having you on the show. Well,
again, we love the expertise, and let's start with what's happening here in the Treasure Valley.
Yeah, every week we try to kind of run by the listeners. We have a good following of listeners out there, and they always like to know kind of what's going on with the real estate market. We talk about inventory levels, and there's a little bit of concern out there by me, and on the way down here to record today, I talked to a couple of the realtors, and everyone kind of seems to have the same concern with inventory levels and the lack of inventory levels. The one good bright point out there right now that I see is that new construction keeps pumping along. Not a whole lot of we call spec homes, where a builder will build a spec home, just speculating on the market, the fact that they're going to be able to sell it. But there's not a whole lot of lending out there for that type of builders, because builders have had so many problems over the last few years. Anyway, but that number is really strong. So we have 355 homes on the market right now. Our new construction total in Ada County 2,291. The good news is that our list price and close price both have jumped substantially from 1-2 years ago. And you look at a median list price for all the homes out there is $209,000 in Ada County, and for list price for new construction is $236,000. So we're talking about large jumps from the last 2 years, which always shows good health. I think it's more of a market correction than appreciation, but I still think we're going to still see that appreciation coming on down the road.
Well, we talk about this. What a difference a year or 2 years makes in the Treasure Valley real estate market.
Yeah, it does. And you look at 2011, we talk about sold units, year to date from last year. We had 4,100 units sold at a median sold price of $139. You look at this year, exact same time frame, we're up 100 to 159,000 for the close price. So we're up 13% appreciation with all home sales in Ada County, which is incredible. We try to attribute a lot of that stuff to what's going on out there and what's truly pushing that number. And, a lot of it's, only 1% of foreclosures are over $300,000 right now, which is great. And I think a lot of it's due to the fact that the banks look at places like North Boise and Meridian and Eagle and places like that. And what they did is it really hurt us the last 2 years, but they flooded them on the market on us. But at least we washed them out. We'll talk about a little about in the next segment about shadow inventory, which is, the banks holding on the properties not through in markets. So that, the federal government saying, hey, like for example, Las Vegas, the federal government comes in and says, hey, B of A, Chase, these bigger banks, and says, don't flood the market. It's already bad enough down there. So let's hold these properties off the market. We kind of little by little kind of put them onto the market as to not ruin the market. The really good part for us, which I love, is if you look last year to date and this year to date, last year we had 495 units sold, new construction. This year we have already 752. We're almost, it's not double, but we're way up, and we're talking, 34% more sold units, new construction in Ada County. So, overall, I think that I think people are getting, their attitude towards the market, their attitude towards Boise in general. And we'll talk a little bit about, all the good press and Boise being in the spotlight over the last, month or so on these big publications. I think people are really starting to feel like things are shoring up.
Is it good that we're having so much new construction? We see the businesses, and we'll talk about that coming in, but is new construction good or bad for existing real estate properties?
It's good. A lot of people blame new construction on the fact of what happened around here when everything just fell apart and inventory levels just soared to 6,700. I think it was August of 2007, but it is a good thing, because I think what's happening now is that there's no inventory. So if you take out the new construction, we're looking at 1,500 homes and some change in Ada County. That's not a whole lot. When the market was really, really, really hot, there was 1,370 homes. So overall, I think it's a good thing. I don't think we're ever going to get back to where we were, where you're seeing all these speculation homes in the ground. I think we're more seeing kind of a methodical, the builders that are still healthy that can go out, maybe some of them are getting hard money, but there are still some that are getting lending, and they approve, they get approved for speculation homes. But I think a lot of it is they're in the ground, and then these builders, the new construction we're seeing are more people that can't find the product, and what they're going out is they're doing a build job and they're building their own home again, which is great. You're
listening to the Chris Lofthus Show here at 580 KIDO. If you'd like to get a hold of Chris, chrislofthus.com, 350-6228, 350-6228. And again, if you'd like to give Chris an email, give him a contact us at clgeagle.com. Much more coming up as we move along. Chris, what's the advantages when someone comes to you? You always pride yourself on building an excellent team to have the expertise. When someone calls you up, and let's say they're right now, they give you a call at 350-6228, what's the Chris Lofthus advantage?
Our biggest thing, I think we always talk about, we hire talent, we surround ourselves with talent, but it's not just, it's not just us on the real estate side. It's more of a, we kind of sometimes talk like, me, Jerry, Annette and Travis. It's more like we are kind of counselors for people, because people aren't getting the right information. So when they come to us, they know they're going to get the right advice. And so we talk about, like, we have vendors on the show all the time, and we talk about surrounding ourselves with the right people and surrounding ourselves with the right title company and the lenders and repair guys, whoever it is. That's kind of what we do. And so overall, yeah, we do real estate just like every other real estate company. But when you come to us, you're going to get the facts, you're going to get the truth. And if you need something outside of the realm of what we do, we have a great, we have a great list of vendors around us that we put our stamp of approval on as well.
When we take a look at lending and such, have the rules really gotten more favorable to people trying to buy now? Because we see an increase in sales. Is that because of lending practices are loosening up a little?
Yeah, well, I wouldn't really say they're loosening up. I think that the guidelines have changed a little bit. I mean, rates are still historically incredibly low. Obviously, I'm not a lender, so I'm not going to quote a number, but they're still ridiculous, lowest they've ever been in history. But I think what we're seeing now and what we're going to see over the next year to 2 years is now the people that have foreclosed or short sold, these people are qualified again after 2 years from the close of escrow on that house. And those people are starting to be qualified again to buy homes. So now we're going to not just see the people moving in from out of area, which has been really helpful for us in general, and especially in Meridian, with all the good news about great place to raise your family and all this stuff. So people are looking and they're moving here, but also the people that got in a bad situation and lost their house, these people are qualified now to buy in the next 6, 12, 18 months, which is really going to put a push on that inventory number.
And when we take a look at the inventory numbers, is there a difference between, let's say, a home that's valued at about $120,000 and under and the $200,000 homes? Are we seeing fluctuations? Before it seemed like the cheaper homes were going. Has that edged up at all to the higher priced homes?
Yeah, and we're talking here about, talk about a decrease in homes listed of $120,000 and under. And we discussed this last week on the show, but if you look from $90,000 to $120,000, $110,000, something like that around there, of all the closed transactions over the last 11 years, half of them took place last year. Of half of those transactions, half of them were cash. So you're looking at, investors buying that. Well, when you start chewing up all that inventory, it just puts pressure on the 150. The 150 starts getting chewed up. The 200 starts getting pressure, and so on. And what we're seeing, and it's not happening overnight, but you watch this. I run the numbers week to week, and if you look at it, it truly does have a little push. I was talking to Annette. We were discussing, yesterday in the office. We talked about we're getting this feeling when you watch these ranges start to rumble. The 200, 300, 400, 600, for example, in Eagle, we're starting to see more showings. We have a couple houses listed in the 600 range, very, very quiet. And then on Monday we had 3 showings. So I think we're starting to see, I think people are becoming more comfortable with the market. I think for a while we had kind of a standoff between the buyers and sellers, where the buyers wanted to get a great deal. And the days, there's still good deals. So we're still far off from where we were. It was way too high. It was a false ceiling back, in 2005. But I think now we got this market correction going on, and people need to realize, when you look at average prices, they're more realistic now, and they're going to go up. We're going to still see another 4 or 5, 6%, methodical increase in property values around the Ada County.
Now, Chris, I have to ask you this question, and you bring this up. The buyer has an expectation; they want to get a great deal. The seller is trying to hold off a loss or has a view that the home is appreciated. This is where you come in. I watch that $1 Million Real Estate show all the time. So when you have two sides coming back and forth, what is the advantage of going to Chris Lofthus, of getting your expertise? How do you deal with that?
I actually should go on that show.
You should.
I'm thinking that's a good idea. Mm-hmm. The biggest thing, we talk to sellers all the time, and they come and we just talk about getting a realistic information, whether you're a buyer or you're a seller. But with sellers, it's a lot of people are looking and they're like, oh, I'm losing money on my house. But the fact is, what was discussed with them, it says, where are you going? Are you going back to California? Are you staying here locally? And the fact of the matter is, if you're going to jump out of the marketplace and think that you're smarter than the market, don't, because the market's changed so fast. When you talk about, a little blip of 12% in a marketplace, and you're talking about a $300,000 house, that's a lot of money. I mean, that's a big jump, and it can happen overnight. We watched it happen before. And so the thing about it is, it's a perceived loss. It's just like buying stock. If you're in a good financial position and you're going to sell your house for $200 and you bought it for $220, but you're in a good position to go buy and upgrade to a $350,000 house, it's just a perceived loss. You're buying the loss on the upside anyway.
Chris Lofthus with us. You can catch him right now at 350-6228. Also, chrislofthus.com. If you'd like to send Chris an email, contact us at clgeagle.com. That's contact us at clgeagle.com. And, of course, you can always get Chris on Facebook, virtual tours, the YouTube channel, plus much, much more. You're listening to the Chris Lofthus Radio Show here at 580 KIDO.